Okay, so today we're going to be talking about the demonstrative pronoun. In English, we use the demonstrative pronoun as well. We say it's this or that. So what's the difference between this and that? This is close. So this marker is mine versus that book is yours. So that is far. Now there really isn't any difference between the distance between the two, but this kind of implies that it's not in my immediate person. This implies that it is in my immediate person. So English has this and that as the demonstrative pronouns. We're saying this person, this thing, that thing, all to kind of talk about a noun. Again, it's a pronoun, so what is it? What is the pronoun? What is the pronoun doing?
It's saying something about the noun.
Saying something about the noun. So this and that is saying something typically about a specific noun. Our fun little sentence here. So I'm going to say this is my quick red fox, right? So now I'm going to throw a comma here because I'm making a dependent conjunction here. So and by conjunction, and he is referring to whom?
He is
referring to the fox, and he jumped over that lazy brown dog. All right. So, again, this is our sentence. Normally it's the quick red fox jumped over the lazy brown dog. But we've added a little bit, kind of extended our sentence here. So in the case of this sentence, this is our pronoun, and it's also our subject. This is my quick red fox. But the this here is referring to the fox. And so what we would call this here, if the noun is after the pronoun, we would call this the postcedent. And so it comes after the pronoun. Now, if the fox was over here, we would call this the antecedent. It comes before the pronoun. And so then this would be referring to the antecedent noun. We use that a lot in English, but we also noticed that there was a that here, right? So that is showing some distance, showing kind of that dog, that lazy brown dog. But it's also functioning as an adjective. You see how that lazy brown dog all describes what? All describes the dog, the state of the dog. And so this red fox would be more of an adjective. Right now we're kind of predicating something about that quick red fox. If I were to let's get rid of that, this quick red fox jumped over that lazy brown dog. You see kind of how we just got rid of some of this fluff and saying the same thing just with less words. So that's kind of how that is working. But this right here is an adjectival pronoun here. This quick red fox jumped over that lazy brown dog.
Right.
Okay. The good news is that Greek has demonstrative pronouns just like English does, and they function exactly the same way. So we're going to see this refers to something close. That refers to something far away. Same in Greek. So I'm going to give you a new paradigm here. So this is going to be the paradigm hutos. So we're going to follow a 2, 1, 2, and just for clarification's sake, what is a 2, 1, 2 paradigm?
It is a masculine, feminine, neuter.
Yep, masculine, feminine, neuter, but it's also going to be, the case endings are going to be different than in the third declension.
The case endings are going to be a vowel.
Yep. So this is pretty standard here, where we're just going to have our paradigm look just like the third-person pronouns. There's a little bit of a difference here, though, and we're going to talk about those here shortly. All right, so there's a little bit of a difference here. So if we were to compare this to the third-person personal pronoun paradigm, we'd see some slight differences, but we'd see some key things that are different. So first and foremost, we see a rough breathing mark. This is going to be the same in the singular and in the plural. And so let me just kind of write this out here real quickly. So we have a rough breathing mark here. So it's not going to be autos, it's going to be hutos, haute, and tuto. So that also, we're going to first see that there's a rough breathing mark in the nominative singular and in the plural. So that's going to be the difference between hautai and autai, which is the feminine third-person pronoun for they, or the group of women, they. And we also see, again, that the neuter does not have a nu like what we've seen already in the second declension.
Why is there a cow in front of the, as you go down the paradigm?
Yep. Just about to talk about that. So there's also a tau in the feminine and a tu in the masculine and in the neuter. This is the same that we see. This is also to indicate this paradigm here. So this paradigm here in the singular is this. What is this when you make it plural? These, yes. This pen, these pens. And so this and these. And so we could also do this as what down here it would be
these men,
these men, these women, these things, which is what we'd find there. And so that's what we're seeing with the demonstrative pronouns and just how they function, how they work. They're just going to be these. And then just for the neuter here, we're just going to go tuta, just what we've seen already with the neuter. So tu for masculine and for neuter, tau for feminine. And you're going to see that all across the board in both the plural and in the singular. So we're still keeping that 2, 1, 2, but that's the paradigm for this. Now I'm going to give the paradigm for that.
Mm-hmm.
Again, it's going to be a 2, 1, 2. So the paradigm here is going to be Koinos, Koine, with a smooth breathing mark, and then Koino, because it doesn't have that neuter. So in the pronouns, you're not going to have the now in the neuter. So Koinos, Koine, Koino. I could do the entire paradigm here, but it's basically, because it's a 2, 1, 2, we know that it's going to end with an upsilon, subscripted iota, and then a nu. And then so again over here, sigma, iota subscripted eta, and then a nu, and then over here in upsilon, subscripted iota, and then it's not gonna have a case ending. So that's what we're seeing here. And then also, because it's a 2, 1, 2 paradigm, we're going to have an ekenoi, ekenai, and ekena. So it's just going to be like what we've seen already, nothing new here. So when you have that in the singular and then in the plural, what do you get?
So that man.
And
those
men, yeah.
Those men.
So that and those, this and these is going to be the structure of the demonstrative point pronoun. We could basically say that this and that are demonstrating something. That's kind of how I learned it, is that it's demonstrating something. So that's why it's called the demonstrative pronoun. Any questions?
So it'd be like it's demonstrating this.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So I just demonstrated these paradigms for you.
Right.
All right. So some things we want to look at. When hutos functions as a pronoun, it modifies no nouns. So hutos, this, functions as a pronoun. So kind of what we've seen with third-person pronouns, when they function as a pronoun, they function as a pronoun modifying something before. So hutos can function as a pronoun, or when it does function as a pronoun, it modifies no nouns. So it'd be very common to find something like this. Hutos estin.
This is he, or
this one is, this man is, you can, let me see, so he is, just for Google's. So this is a man. Would be kind of how this is functioning. It's not modifying a noun. Or this one is the one who walked here yesterday. You can have all kinds of variations here. You can also see a lot of times where you see something like hutos estin, where it's going to become a weak pronoun or a weak demonstrative pronoun, and you would actually translate it, he is, and then you could finish the sentence. But hutos can be a demonstrative pronoun this, or it can be a weak demonstrative pronoun and be a he. Context will tell you which one's which.
So it'll tell you whether to use this or just he.
Yep, it'll just make the most sense when you're translating. So that's kind of what we're seeing in the first thing. And so what we've already seen with pronouns is that case is determined by function in the sentence, right? And then the number and gender are determined by the antecedent. So the hutos here, we can see the hutos be hutu, we can see it be huto, and we can also see it be huton. And they can be different based on the function in the sentence, however the sentence needs it to function. But hutos will always be dictated by the noun that's the antecedent. So if you see, let's say Jesus as the antecedent, which is common in Koine Greek, if you see Jesus as the antecedent, hutos always has to be singular and masculine, always. You will never see haute modifying Jesus. Do you know why?
It's not the same as numbers.
Well, they're both singular.
Case, number, gender.
They're well, it doesn't have to be the same case, but they are the same case here. But they are not
The same gender.
The same gender. As haute is feminine, Jesus is masculine. So the pronoun is the antecedent determines the number and gender. So we could see hautoi, but it's not going to be modifying Jesus. Why?
Because it's not the same number.
Correct. They're both nominative. This one's plural, this one's singular, and they're both masculine. So they have to be the same, at least, gender and number. But we also want to talk about adjectival pronouns. So we see demonstrative pronouns having, they can function as just a pronoun, but they would be more of a substantival, if we can call it that, pronoun. We can also see them function as an adjectival pronoun. And an adjective does what?
Modifies the noun.
Modifies the noun. So Mounts gives us this sentence, that car, and so in this case here, that is modifying car. What we'll find here is, just like we found with the reflexive pronouns in the third person plural last week, we find that this is also going to be in the predicate position. So you would find something like so hutos ho Jesus, which would be translated this Jesus. This would not function reflexively like we saw with the third person pronouns, as the demonstrative pronouns don't function reflexively. Only third person pronouns do. So this one would be kind of more this Jesus, where it's in the predicate position, but it is functioning as a true adjective. And then another one that we could look at would be something like Ekonoi, sorry for about these over here. Ekonoi, hoi, anthropoi, all agree in case, number, and in gender. Again, we have to see it work that way. And we would translate this one, those men, as it is functioning adjectively. But those are really the only two ways that the demonstrative pronoun functions. You'll see it functions substantively, but again, it'll be functioning as a true noun and not as a pronoun necessarily. Mm-hmm. But again, context will tell you which ones are which, how to use it, how to translate, and all that fun stuff. So there's one more thing I want to talk about today, and that's kind of the degrees of an adjective. So you've heard the term comparative, superlative, and positive in reference to adjectives, right? So the first degree, we could say, as Mounds calls it, of an adjective is the positive, right? This is just a basic way of just saying the adjective. So there are two ways we can say it in English. We can say, my house is great, right? Mm-hmm. Or I could say, my great house. So in both of these examples here, which one is the adjective?
Great.
Yep. So here, I'm predicating something about my house. Here, I'm just saying my great house. Most of the time, you'll find your adjectives functioning in just the simple positive. Now, I'm going to start to sound a little bit arrogant here, but the next one is going to be the comparative. We could say that we're comparing two things here. So just one thing here. Now I'm going to be comparing one thing to another. So my house is greater. Because I'm now comparing, I have to include the then, right?
Right.
My house is greater than yours. Because what am I doing? I'm comparing my house to your house. And I'm saying my house is greater than yours. And so this is a comparative. This is a pretty common. We use it in English. Greek has it function the same way. So when you come across something like this, you would translate it as you would include the then here. So the third one is we've moved from comparing two things. We're going to be comparing three things together. This is called the superlative, at least three things. So we'll say, my house is the greatest. And so what I'm saying is that I've compared my house to everybody else's. My house is the greatest. So we have positive, my house is great. Comparative, my house is greater than yours. Superlative, my house is the greatest. Greek also uses these three degrees. We could have over here in the positive, megas ho Iesus. Jesus is great, is how this one is how we would do this here. Jesus is great. And then in the comparative, we could say Medon ho Iesus Moses. This one is basically saying Jesus is greater than Moses. Right? So then the third one, we would say, it could be technically something like this. Megistos ho Jesus. And how would we translate this one?
Jesus is greatest.
Jesus is the greatest. So those are the 3 degrees of the adjective, and you can see that that's going to be kind of the case with all 3 adjectives. We have either a positive, a comparative, or a superlative. And so context will tell you which one to use, and most of the time you'll be finding a weird form of a word that you know, but you haven't learned already. So that's going to be what you find there. Any questions?
No.